Most people think space is empty, a vast nothing between stars and planets, a silent backdrop where matter simply exists. But that idea is wrong. Space is not empty. And once you understand why, the universe looks very different. In everyday life, empty feels simple. An empty room, an empty box, nothing inside. When we remove objects from a space, we expect that space itself to disappear from relevance. Nothing pushes back, nothing reacts, nothing matters. So it feels natural to imagine space as a gigantic container, a stage where planets, stars, and galaxies float around, separated by enormous distances of nothing at all. This image is deeply rooted in how we experience the world. But physics tells a very different story. Because in physics, even the emptiest space imaginable is still doing something. Space is not just a passive background, it's an active part of reality. In modern physics, space behaves more like a field than a container. A field is something that exists everywhere, even when nothing visible seems to happen. Temperature is a field. Gravity is a field. Electric and magnetic forces form fields. And space itself behaves like one too. This idea alone already changes what nothing means. Because if space is a field, then removing matter does not remove reality itself. Even without particles, even without light, space still exists as something physical. To understand this better, imagine the ocean on a completely calm day. No waves, no motion, no visible activity at the surface. From far away, it looks like nothing is happening. But the water is still there. It still has depth. It still has pressure. It still has structure. Objects can still float. They can still sink. They can still move. Space works in a similar way. Even when it looks empty, it still has properties that influence everything inside it. And this is where human intuition begins to fail. Our brains evolved in a world where nothing usually means irrelevant. If there is no sound, no resistance, no visible object, we assume there is nothing worth paying attention to. But physics does not follow human intuition. According to quantum physics, empty space is never truly empty. Even when all particles are removed, tiny fluctuations constantly appear and disappear. These fluctuations are not science fiction. They are measurable. They have been observed indirectly through their effects on particles and forces. This means space itself carries energy. And that energy matters. It influences how particles behave. It affects how forces interact. It shapes how light travels across the universe. In other words, space is not a blank canvas. It participates in physical processes. This becomes especially important when we stop looking at small systems and start looking at the universe as a whole. When physicists say the universe is expanding, they don't mean galaxies are flying outward into emptiness. They mean space itself is stretching. The distance between galaxies increases not because they are moving through space faster, but because the space between them changes over time. This is a subtle idea, but it changes how we think about the entire cosmos, because it means the large-scale behavior of the universe is shaped not only by matter and energy, but by the properties of space itself. Space is not just where things happen. It influences how things can happen at all. This is not abstract philosophy. The structure of space affects real technology. Satellites must constantly correct their timing because space and time are not fixed. Light bends near massive objects because space itself can curve. Even the future of the universe, whether it keeps expanding, slows down, or changes its behavior, depends on how space behaves at the deepest level. Remember the ocean analogy. Even when the surface is calm, the water is still there, still shaping everything that moves within it. Space works the same way. It shapes motion. It shapes time. It shapes what is possible. So space is not nothing. It can stretch, it can curve, it can carry energy. Space is not simply where reality happens. Space is part of reality itself. And next, we'll look at what happens when space bends to its extreme limits, near black holes.
If this helped, hit like and subscribe for one 10-minute idea every day.